everybody. Jeff Cowan here from Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk, and I'm back with a new edition of my podcast entitled Write Service, Write Your Own Paycheck, The Path to Making Over $100,000 a year when writing service in the United States of America, Canada, and or Australia. And you know, at this very recording, 20% of you are doing just that, making $100,000 a year or more, but that means 80% of you are not. So what are we going to do about that? Well, I think one of the smartest things you could do is to keep listening to me. I mean, listen to this podcast, listen to my past podcasts, my future podcasts. Take the techniques, the processes, the word tracks and the like, put them in play on your service drive, and you too will find yourself making $100,000 a year or more very soon. Well, welcome back to the podcast, and I'm back with another timely message, and I say that because we're going to stay right on top of this virus thing, you know, because it's getting a lot of different questions that we don't normally get. Now, this is kind of a part two, if you will, to last week. I didn't know it was going to be a two-parter, but here's what I mean. You know, last week when we did the podcast, I based it off of a question I was getting from a lot of the service advisors out there, and you'll remember that question was, Jeff, I was one of the people that got furloughed, or I was one of the people that were laid off, and I don't like that. And I want to know how to make sure that never happens again. And as we discussed, the chances are that if you got furloughed, it's because maybe you didn't appear to have the value that some of the people who didn't get furloughed or laid off seem to have. So I based the whole podcast on how to make yourself more valuable. And by the way, thank you for all the people that wrote in and commented and complimented on that, because I really hit a note there. A lot of people felt it was some great information. So if you've not seen it, go back and watch it. But so I kind of took it from that turn. Well, I got a big backlash from business owners and service managers because they said, wait a minute. Although there might be some cases out there, and there are, where people were furloughed or laid off because they weren't as valuable to the business, or maybe and the like. There are a lot of people out there that we were forced to lay off or furlough because we just didn't have the business and we didn't have the resources to keep them on. So there was a lot of so it wasn't everybody that got furloughed or laid off was not valuable, but there definitely were some. So what that did, though, is it provoked another question from business owners and service managers, and here's what their problem is. Hey, look, since, yes, there was some people that we let go that maybe, weren't as valuable as some of the ones we kept, there was a lot of people that we had to furlough that had a lot of value to the company, and our big concern is, how do we get them back? How do we make sure as business starts to increase that they want to come back? Because some of you are reporting that you're calling some of these people up and they're not coming back for all kinds of reasons. So let's take a look at today, some things you can do to ensure that your best people and the ones that you want to come back, okay? So I'm going to give you a list of things that I've seen not only started working now, because some people are already on top of this. Some people say, look, we got to keep these people coming back in here, make sure our team gets back together. So these are things that are working now. But it's also things that worked after 2008, because you remember during that recession, a lot of you back then had to lay a lot of people off, and it took a number of years to rebuild your team, and you wanted to keep the right people coming back. So these ideas aren't just ideas off the top of my head. They're things that people have done and continue to do to bring back their most valuable employees, or at least the ones they want back. Number one is the obvious one, okay? The obvious one, pay increase. I mean, offer them a pay increase. Now, there's three different ways you can do that. You can simply make it permanent. Hey, if you come back, we'll give you X, and X can be whatever. Depends on what department they're in, depends on what they're providing to your business and the like. So it could be just a permanent increase in income. One that I like is maybe a temporary increase. Hey, look, we're going to bring you back, and for the first 60 days you're here, we're going to give you a 10% increase in your income, or maybe if you're in sales, we'll give you one more percentage on the sales that you make. Instead of it being 5 or 6%, we're going to make it 7, 8%, something like that. This is going to be temporary to kind of take the sting out of you having to sit at home for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So temporary increase is something that a lot of people do have a lot of success with it. So I really like that one, because you're kind of telling them, hey, we're glad you're back. We want to help you out, help you get caught back up. Another thing under pay increase you could do is just simply give them a bonus if they return. And the amount of the bonus, again, would depend on what they do in your business and what their importance are and the like. But that draws people back because, again, hey, look, we know that you had to stay home for 3 or 4 weeks. We know, or maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 9 weeks or who knows, however. And we know that, things may have gotten really tight for you. So we're going to give you a bonus up front just to come back and continue to work with us. So that's an idea. Number two, because that would be number one. Number two, would be time off. You know, we've moved into an era where family values have really taken hold, and it seems like the younger generations out there, it's not across the board, but a lot of them are more into the quality of life than the quantity of life. You know, where my generation was how much quantity can we get, how much stuff can we buy, you know, that type of stuff. There seems to be a large group, a large number of the younger generations that want more of a quality of a type of life. So if you're in that situation, number 2 would be time off. Okay, now you say, well, wait a minute, we just brought them back. They were off for 4 weeks, maybe 8 weeks or longer, and you're saying give them time off? Yeah, but with a twist. So here's some ideas. You might give them, when they come back, 1 day off a month extra above and beyond what they get now with pay. Okay, they pick it, they choose it, they get it, there you go. Or how about this one right here? How about you do a thing with, hey, look, when you come back, we're going to allow you to come in an hour later, or maybe leave an hour earlier, or maybe you get an extra 30 minutes for lunch. So maybe you give them a temporary some time if you like. So time, and that one right there, it kind of surprised me because, you know, prior to 2008, I don't think that one really would have ever worked. But it seems like since 2008, that one has a lot of impact. And I've actually seen people in their hiring processes tell new hires, you know, once you're with us for a year, you're not only going to get your 1 week or 2 week vacation, whatever it is, but we're going to give you an extra day off that you can use any way you want with pay, and that's a really good hiring tool. So number 1 would be a pay increase. Number 2 would be some time off. I've got a number 3 and a 4 here for you. But before I get into those, I want to tell you about a couple things here. You know, here at Pro Talk, we're all about helping you out. We want to make sure that when your people do come back and this thing bounces back to 100%, that you and your staff are prepared. As we're out there right now in this pandemic, it looks like that most of you, from what we're reading, is now back up to about 50% of the business you were doing before. 50% of your staff is back, and it's going to continue to happen. I really think here in the next 2 weeks, you're going to wake up and it's going to be 100, 110% as these states and counties and cities start to open up, and you want to be prepared. And we want to make sure that you're prepared. We want to see you maximize your sales. We want to see you maximize your effective labor rate, your survey scores. We want you to get perfect survey scores. We want you to have the highest customer retention, and we don't want you to have to deal with heat. So what I'm going to recommend you do to try to help you out is I want you to invest in some training. So invest with us at Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk, and you can do that by simply dialing 1-800-248-2931, 1-800-248-2931. It's written right there on the screen for you. Or you can simply go to automotiveservicetraining.com, that address down there, and fill out a form, and we'll be able to help you out. Now, one of the things, because you know, you might be saying, well, Jeff, we don't have a lot of budget for training, and well, we're going to help you out. During this downtime, I've refilmed all of my training, so it's brand new. Latest content, latest everything, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to give you the opportunity to turn it on in your store per rooftop, $99, no payments for 90 days, and then in 90 days you'd start making regular payments for 1 year. I mean, where can you get that? And this stuff is going to get you to the point where you're going to maximize your sales, your effective labor rate, and all those great things that we talked about. We're going to get it done. Now, some of you out there, you might say, well, you know what? We want to do the virtual training, because that would be for our online training, but we want to have a trainer come in. You know, we'd rather go that route. Well, you know, we're famous for that because nobody does what we do, where we come in and we stand side by side with your advisors, coach, critique, role play, right service, to show them how our stuff works. We do the same thing with our management training. We can set up quick loops, our express services, we can set up BDCs and all that stuff. So if you want to go down that route, we've got some special things we'll do for you there. And as I'm talking about that, I want to do a quick shout out to one of my trainers, Chris. This guy, I mean, all my trainers are great, but this guy's knocking it out of the park, you know, because he's going into these stores right now. He's been out there for the last 2 or 3 weeks. You know, last week he was in a store, got them a 7/10 increase. The week before he was in a store in Texas, got them a 1 hour increase. This week he's in a Ford store in Wisconsin. He got them a 5/10 increase. And you know, and I could probably talk about our other trainers as well, but I just got through talking to him, and I mean, this guy is kicking ass, okay? So I can say ass because this is my podcast, and most people say but I can say ass because it says Jeff Cowan, and I'm Jeff Cowan, so he's kicking ass. And if you want him to kick ass in your store, call us up, we'll get it done. And we also have workshops. I can come out and do private workshops for you. You can send one of your people to one of the 4 that we have scheduled this fall. Now let's get back to what we were talking about. So how do you keep your staff coming back? The ones that you want to come back, the ones who you had to furlough or lay off just because the business wasn't there. Well, number one idea was pay increase. We talked about how you can do a permanent increase, a temporary one, or give them a bonus for return. Number 2, the idea was time off. give them a day off with pay once a month, for several months or for the next year. Or we talked about maybe temporarily you let them come in an hour later or leave an hour earlier with pay. So those are the first two. Let's talk about number 3. This one's a really good one here. And you'd be surprised at the impact this will have. Solve one of their problems. Solve one of the problems they had working with you prior to having to leave, and entice them back with telling them, hey, look, you remember we always used to have problem X? Well, we've done this to rectify that. It's no longer going to be a problem. So what were I talking about? Well, what were we talking about a second ago? You might offer them training. Say, you always said you wanted more training. You felt like you weren't doing the job to the best of your ability, so we've invested in training, right? I mean, hey, this guy Jeff Cowan gave it to us for $99, no payments for 3 months. Okay. B would be, maybe you tell them, hey, look, how you've always complained about our computers, or here recently, our computers not being up to date, our phone system's out of date, or our software technology's out of date. We've made some effort there to get that taken care of. And so when you come back, that's not going to be a problem. Or maybe their problem was they felt like they didn't have enough staff. Maybe they need an extra porter, or they need an extra greeter, or maybe 2 cashiers at the end of the day, or whatever it was. Or maybe you need another advisor, maybe you need a lane manager, maybe you need more techs, whatever. You can also let them know that, hey, we've addressed that. We now have this, so when you come back, the job will be easier. All great ways to entice your people to come back. Number 4, I really like this one, because if you can get the support of home, man, you're halfway there. So the 4th idea would be to involve their family. Now, what do I mean by involving their family? Well, you might do something like send them some gifts. Send some gifts. Hey, look, we know that you've been furloughed. We know you're off. We wanted you to have this gift card to go here and maybe buy yourself a carry-out dinner. Or we wanted to send you, subscribe to HBO for you for a year. We know you like that. Or we know that you're a gamer, so we've sent it over a game package for you and your family to enjoy. Get the family involved so they support you working there. Something else you could do is you could send gift cards. Gift cards to their favorite store. Maybe it's something as simple as Target. Maybe it's something like a food place. You could send them gift cards to, maybe if they're into guns, you could send them to the local shooting range. I mean, there's all kinds of things. Again, and maybe their kids are into football, so you send them a gift card to the sporting goods store. When it opens back up, they can get some new football equipment or whatever they need. Involve the families. When you get the family supporting the person that works for you, it really, really goes a long way. And then maybe you do something like this. Maybe you give their family training. Now follow me on this for just a second. My training, if you go to it, the online stuff, there's a button there that says Skill Shop. Now when you push that button that says Skill Shop, there is literally, when it opens up a whole library of the top 100 trainers in the world. And when I say the top 100 trainers, let me get an idea of what I'm talking about here. We've got Tony Robbins on there. We've got John Maxwell. We've got Grant Cardone on there. Patricia Fripp. You've got Joe Verdi from the car industry on there. You've got Alan Ram and Proactive Training, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And get this, it's not just car dealership training, obviously, because Tony Robbins does everything. There's real estate training on there. There's HR training on there. There's dental hygienist training on there. There's how to be a makeup artist training on there. There's how to run a restaurant training on there. There's everything you can imagine under the sun. So you could turn that on for somebody. Say, hey, look, I know that your spouse has talked about for a long time getting into real estate. We've turned this on for them. I mean, you'd be surprised. Or we know your kids are into baseball. We've got a trainer on that shows kids how to throw baseballs. We're going to turn it on for the next 90 days for you. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do, because again, don't underestimate the value of the family and what they would have on a decision whether somebody's going to come back and work for you. Because I understand what your concern is. I mean, you've laid them off, but what happens if the business across the street didn't lay anybody off? Or they bring people back before you did, and they call up your person and say, look, you've worked over there. We've talked about you coming back before. When are they going to bring you back? Another week, 2 weeks, a month? Can you sit at home and do that? You can come in right now, and we will hire you, and we will give you X. We'll give you something better. That's happening. It's happening out there right now. And there's other people that have been laid off and furloughed that are just second guessing their career. Is this really what I want to do? Well, you need to get in there and convince them that this is what they need to do, and this is the place they need to do it. So how, again, do you keep your people engaged and want them to come back? Number 1 was, pay increase. We gave you the 3 things under that. Time off was number 2. We give you 2 ideas under that. 3, we solve some prior problems they had while they're at work. We give you 3 things under there. And then we said get the family involved. Show them how much you appreciate them and appreciate their family. We give you several other ideas under that. But in the end, what this is really going to get down to is, I think, soul searching. Because after 2008 and even now, people that were really happy working for you before they left, they're going to want to come back. They're going to want to be dedicated. I can't tell you the amount of interviews I set in over the year, because we'll go into dealerships and try to help them find people, and we'll have somebody sitting across from them and we'll offer them something, and they'll hesitate and say, the only thing is, I know this pays more, and I know I would get this, that, and the other that I don't get there, but that business owner or that manager is always so nice to me, and they always did this, they always did that. And you're going to see it's the little things. I mean, little things. I remember one time a guy said, well, once a month they have a cookout for us, At Christmas time they allow my kids to come in, and Santa Claus comes in, they give them gifts. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you the type of person that people are want to come back to? Are they going to want to work for you? And I'm going to guess if you're watching this podcast, the answer to that is going to be yes. But we can always improve, right? I mean, I've done some soul searching through all of this. So there's my message today. I know you're going to find it valuable. You put some of these things into play. Give me a call, send me a text, write me an email, and tell me what happened when you did those things. So for this week, that's it. I appreciate you listening and or watching, and I invite you to come back here in the next week or so, because I'll have another one of these podcasts going for you. Go back and watch the old ones. But between now and next week, I want you to start focusing on getting this country started back up, these business started back up, and I want you to focus on maximizing the opportunity. I want you to maximize on having the best life that you can for you and your family, because between now and next week, that is exactly what I'm going to do. Hey, my name's Jeff Cowan. I have a company called Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk. I appreciate you watching this podcast. God bless you all. I'll talk to you soon.